connected. This is where it's at. From NBA insights to the latest chit chat. Grab your popcorn, sit tight, we're ready to roll. In the heart of Sacktown, we're feeding your soul. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star. With the NFL, Adams in the ring. Rhino's got the wisdom, hear the praises we sing. Court in session, it's a royal affair. With the fans all around, feel the passion in the air. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star.
What's it gonna be tonight? Is it gonna be an NBA championship for the Thunder? First one? Or we get to game 7? What do you think? How's it going? Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the King's Court. Court is in session. Please excuse my tardiness. I had a situation arise that came to my attention rather late in the afternoon. That was a bit troublesome to me, involving an individual that is actually mentioned in our theme song here on the King's Court. So I just wasn't sure how to handle it. I really just needed a couple of minutes to compose myself before I came on the air. They are fine. They are safe, but they did spend Father's Day in handcuffs. So we'll get to that as we get along today. But what's happening? How you feeling? Good to have you here. Hope your day is going well. Wild NBA as always. A lot of rumors going around about trades. Malik Monk, specifically the Raptors. We'll get into some of that. Sam Amick was on with Dave and Jason earlier today. That is the only local segment that I listen to when it comes to local content. And you talked about the Kings and their pursuit of a point guard. So we'll summarize that as well. And then certainly tonight we will preview game number 6. Looks like Hallie's going to give it a go. A little bit of gamesmanship. Is he going to be able to be effective? Who knows? He's a game time decision. We've got audio from a ton of audio, actually, from Coach Carlile, Tyrese. I got a great perspective, too, from a past NBA Coach of the Year that we're going to play as well. So we'll get into all of that. I never touched on the Stanley Cup Finals. Incredible stuff. Come to find out, Matthew Tkachuk playing with a sports hernia that's like torn off, skating like 20 miles an hour. Are you kidding me? These hockey guys are just a different breed. They really are. And the Stanley, I'm ready to say this because I have been casual hockey fan. By casual, I mean I watch the finals. But when you tune in, excuse me, wrong. I just made the list.
You just made the list!
When you watch the final, I watch the final. It's not the finals in hockey. You kind of get the backstory. And when you watch these guys play, it just means a little bit more. And I don't know exactly why that is. But it was great to see them win their second cup in the road. What's this mean for Edmonton? I got to think. With Edmonton, Connor McDavid, they are going to be back. This just seems like they are the 2 best teams in the NHL right now, and that could change. I'd love to get C-Dog. If you hear this, I know you're busy with school. I'd love to get your take on the NHL. Doesn't have to be today because we've got a ton of basketball, but I was texting back and forth with him or DMing during last game. But Stanley Cup, great scene. I actually, because of VR, I felt I was in the arena. Pretty cool stuff to see those guys hand over and raise that trophy for the first time. Obviously, Malik Monk going to be a big topic of conversation today. Here's what I would preface this whole discussion with. Is there a king that's really untouchable? Is this team in a spot where they're going to contend? No, there's not. There's not. There's kings that I've made a case. Jerry Reynolds made the same case that probably you want to hang on to if you can. Universal pieces, as I call them, fit in with anybody out there. All 29 in the association. But Monk, to me, just hits a little different because of what he means off the court. Now, again, this is the time of year, and Warrior just not. This is what's crazy about it. This is the stuff that kind of starts happening the week of the draft. And then you get some draft day trades, and then you roll into Summer League. And Summer League is the NBA convention. That's where all the scouts, the officials, team reps are out there. And that's when those talks really start to pick up some traction. Then you get free agency, etc. We're getting an early start to this. And Shams is right. I'm with him that this is going to be probably one of the crazier off seasons ever in the NBA. And I think the trend will continue as I've laid out over the past couple weeks. Tyrese Hallebertton, will he play? Will he not play tonight? That's the big question. He's going to give it a go. There's no doubt he's going to give it a go. How effective can he be? I've made the argument I don't think he can be super effective. If he legitimately has a calf strain, which an MRI was done, but they're not saying what the results are. Gamemanship, I get it. I respect it. They're playing chess. But if it is a strain, you heard what Brian Scalabrine had to say yesterday. There's no way you can play through a strain. Tyrese did not look good at the end of game 5. So offensively, not so much my concern. He has not been great offensive on the offensive side of the ball the entire series. Outside of one game and a couple of moments here and there, specifically the game winner in game 1, but defensively, that is where the Thunder could put him through the ringer and put the Pacers into a really difficult spot. So Coach Carlile knows what he's doing, and to a degree, kind of protecting Tyrese as well. So would it be a situation where you get him out there? If it's not right, you pull him, you get a big ovation for the crowd for giving it a go, and you give TJ McConnell heavy minutes. Either way, TJ McConnell needs heavy minutes tonight. Coach Carlile was asked yesterday during media about his approach to Tyrese and the injury. Here's what he had to say.
He participated in all our walkthrough stuff. So, but it's a walkthrough. So it's not, there was no real running or moving or anything. So, so we'll see where we are tomorrow. It's a topic that's people want to hear about and know about, and there's going to be a lot of questions about it. But we will not really know for sure until late tomorrow afternoon or early evening.
Let me translate it for you. They just, for him to say, actually, it makes me laugh. We literally just walked. So nothing really much we can say. Gamemanship at its best. This right now, like literally right now, as we're doing this show, this is when they are finding out where Hallie's really going to be at. Right now, as we speak, before people enter the building, he is giving that thing a go. Right now, you know, there is a host of trainers, coaches all around. Because, yeah, you're going to take his word a little bit, but you know what the guy said. If I can walk, I'm going to be out there. So here's what Tyrese had to say yesterday when he was asked about the decision and how he's feeling.
How smart do you have to be, I guess, in this situation? Or are you not even thinking in those terms at this point?
Well, I think it depends on who you ask. I mean, you're asking me, so I think I have to be as smart as I want to be. I have to understand the risks, ask the right questions. But I'm a competitor. I want to play. I'm going to do everything in my power to play. And that's just what it is. But I mean, I think the answer to that is depending on who you ask.
So yes, he is still a game time decision, Flores. We've got some more audio, some more context that we will get to in a second, but I want to get all of you in on the action, get to the comments in the chat. By the way, if you want to call the show today, we would love to have you on. I will put the link in the chat. Also, Grant makes his return to the channel tonight immediately following the NBA Finals. Show scheduled for 8 o'clock if it's a close game, which regardless of whether Halle plays or not, tonight's going to be close. It's going to be rocking in Indianapolis. Role players play better at home. I would expect Neesmith to have a much better, or Nemhard, excuse me, to have a much better game. Look for more out of Obi Toppin. Can Turner get something going? We will see. Dennis kicks us off from the bottom. Then you found out he's hurt. And okay, you guys are talking about, all right, what if he gets hurt? What if he does something worse? That's part of you have to figure that in. With the landscape in the NBA right now, it is year to year. And I've got a cut of Frank Isola and Brian Scalabrine talking about the parity in this year, or in the game right now, and how they expect it to continue. And they talk about how you had so many champions up until 2007 and then since then. So anyways, we'll get into that. But with Indianapolis and Indiana, you're saying, look, I think that we have a decent shot. It's still contending next year, but Tyrese blows up his calf, or worse, tears his Achilles. What's that do? TJ McConnell is a free agent this year. So those are all significant things that you need to worry about. Daniel S. Royal Pain 916. Dennis's value could be as high as Caruso's as a bench piece on a champion. Talking about Monk, I would say Keegan is the only untouchable player. I would tend to agree with you and understand outside of, hey, we'll offer you Giannis for Keegan. You're going to do that deal. But outside of that, I'm kind of with you. Monk's value, yeah, I don't think it is. I think Monk's value has nothing to do with his contract. I think his contract's right on the money. I don't think he's underpaid. I don't think he's overpaid. I think that's exactly what his number is. And I think that's part of why during the early negotiation rights, the early bird times, the Kings came to an agreement with him. And Malik Monk's agent was poking around. He was trying to figure out what teams, what markets, what the market might bear for him. And remember this, Malik loves it here in Sacramento. And I get a trade would be out of his hands. But the money, remember that. I just said, remember this. Something I'm trying to work on. Shouldn't be telling you what to do. So, Ryan, you just made the list.
You just made the list!
If you're looking at a Monk trade, you got to make the money work. So, what are we going to get back from Toronto that makes that work? I'm sure some of you have put that in the chat already. We'll cover it as we go along. But, Malik, I don't see him liking Toronto too much, to be honest with you, with how much he loves to golf. He gets to golf nearly year-round, 3/4 of the year here in Sacktown. Toronto would be a big change for him, for sure. Let's see. Edmonton could also use an upgrade over Skinner. It's a great point, Mac. Skinner, what an inexplicable play from him. That was the goal that really broke their backs. He should have gloved that thing. There was a play where it was a simple shot. His defenders thought that he was going to glove it, and he just let it bounce off his chest. And it rebounded to the Panthers and pass deflection in the goal. That broke their back. So, yeah, I think Skinner would be probably the place that they definitely need to upgrade. RJ Barrett, Jake would take. All right. Sounds kinky. I don't know, man. Sounds serious. Spending Father's Day in handcuffs? I think serious before I think kinky, but depends on who you think it might be. Daniel says trade Monk, lean into the rebuild unless you trade for a 1A jaw. This is a complete teardown. Well, that's the pickle. That is the hole that the Kings are exactly stuck into. This would be a no-brainer teardown, but it's not that simple because of Zach LaVine's value. And yesterday we talked about Memphis maybe being a landing spot for Zach LaVine. If Memphis is looking to not rebuild, they've got 2 point guards already on the roster. They lose shooting in Bane. And if you did a risk assessment, what movie is that from, by the way? What movie is it where the guy, Along Came Polly. That's what it is. Ruben, the hippopotamus, where he's chasing the crazy billionaire around trying to do a risk assessment on him and the guy's jumping off buildings. Well, if I'm doing a risk assessment between Zach LaVine and Ja Morant, I don't think those assessments, and some for the same reasons and some for different reasons, I don't think the risk is going to be too far off from each other. I don't think you would have one that would be an outlier. So who knows? Again, this is going to be a nutty off season. Anything could happen, but you better have a plan. I guess that's where I start, Daniel. If you're going to trade Malik Monk, you better have a plan at point guard. You better have a plan because Malik Monk is your best playmaker right now on this roster. And a question that is a fair question to ask. I love Malik. Great guy. Love what he brings to the team. Love his energy. But it's a fair question to ask. How about his durability? He's finished the last 2 seasons hurt. Think about that for a second. Could that play into anything? Could that be overuse here in Sacktown? But you got to put a little something in that. He is not finished the last 2 seasons. So, but you got to, more than anything, you have to have a plan at the point guard position. And that's not like, we'll probably move up on draft day and get this guy. No, you need a concrete plan. Patrick off the clock. Yes, it is a federal holiday. Kings have some work to do. Yes, they do. Bro, great show yesterday. Thank you, BJ. How you going to follow that up? I'm looking forward to listening while working in this crazy hospital. Must be nutty work. BJ, have you watched The Pit on HBO Max? Or excuse me, Max. Have you watched The Pit? Is it that crazy in hospitals, the ERs? That was a good show, by the way. Kind of like follow-up to the ER. More modern, focused around Noah Wiley. Plays a great lead doctor in that one, but appreciate it. I think we'll follow it up with a decent show today. I mean, I'm kind of feeling down about the situation I opened the show with, but we'll bounce that off you as we go along today. So back to the auto really quick, and then we will talk some more with you about tonight, the Kings, the market. What about the Lakers? $10 billion evaluation and sale. Jeannie Buss is going to remain on the board of directors for the Lakers. Guess it makes sense if you're Jeannie Buss, but a $10 billion evaluation. What was the first thought that came to everybody's minds? I know what mine was. I'm like, Bron. There's some way that LeBron's connected to this. It's why he went to LA. So he wants to be in ownership. It's been reported widely. Like, is this a plan that was all in place before, and then you find out it's another gentleman that has significant interest in the Dodgers as well? But imagine having that powerhouse owning the Dodgers and also owning the Lakers, with the possibility of having 2 very strong teams, at least the Dodgers championship team right now, but the Lakers, the future with Luka, who knows? So back to the audio.
The train is going.
This is, let me actually set it up for you. This is a perspective from an NBA coach who was won the Coach of the Year before on how the Halliburton situation typically is handled, how you need to handle it, what can happen if you don't handle it the right way. I found it very interesting. Sam does a great job here.
Always ask the player. The player gonna say, I can go. All right. The trainer gonna always, to save his ass, the trainer gonna be like, Coach, I don't know. You know how players are. So at the end of the day, as the coach, you got to look out there. You got to look that guy in the eye. You know he's lying. As soon as he say, Coach, I can go. If he say, Coach, yeah, I'm sore, but I can go, he's telling you indirectly that he really can't. Now, you got to look at how he's playing. Can he protect himself? And what I mean by protect himself, can he go by guys like that he normally go by? Can he defend guys that he normally defend? Can he make the plays that he normally can make? If he can't do those things, I got to make that tough call. And this is the thing. When you're a young coach and you make that call and haven't won nothing, you can get crucified. But when you're Rick Carlile, who's been a champion as a coach and player, think about this. Nobody's still questioning Rick. Rick talked about Tyrese Hallebertton, one question, and said, we're going to move on from game 5, right? And what did they do? They moved on from game 5. So that tells you the power that position as the coach commands and has. So to me, and Rick know I'm telling the truth, every coach who's ever been a head coach know, you got to make that call. That's why you're the head coach.
What do you think of that? I thought that was some very, very interesting information, perspective into how it works. It kind of echoes what Jerry Reynolds said. So, and again, at the end of the day, we're talking about Tyrese Hallebertton when healthy, assuming he's been healthy during the series. Remember, he said he was banged up. He was dealing, actually, the exact quote was, he's dealing with something. I am dealing with something. Before the finals started, has not been super effective. TJ McConnell has been the one that's been very effective. So I actually believe, and I said it yesterday, I believe that the Pacers could actually maybe play better tonight without Hallie. You give some extended run to Mathurin. You give some more responsibility to Nembhard, to Nesmith. I think you get a little bit more out of Obi Toppin. It's a deep bench. They can play that style, and I wonder about the turnovers because Tyrese's assist percentage has been almost half of what TJ McConnell has been operating during the playoffs. So how can those guys handle the pressure, the ball handling? TJ is not going to have an issue with it. It's going to be everybody else for Indiana, because if the Thunder come out and play that suffocating defense for 48 minutes, that defense we saw in game 4 in the fourth quarter, incredible. I don't know that any team can win. So I do think the Pacers win this game and it heads back to Oklahoma City for game 7. And anything can happen in game 7, but I do lean Oklahoma City. Yeah, Miles returned to school. That's right. It was announced roughly, what was it, Peter, 4 weeks ago? Big deal for the program, too. I think Miles needed one more year. And he was being projected right around. Some mock drafts, Peter, actually had him going to the Kings. So it'd be super interesting to see how he continues to develop for one more year in school. It makes sense, right? He's going to make probably more money at school than he would make in year 1 in the NBA. The Pit is a great show. Amen. Tyrese Hallebertton has made a single shot going left in the finals. Okay. The left hand is worse than Jaylen Brown's. Damn, Dennis. Worse than Jaylen Brown's. I don't know if I'm willing to go there. What do you think, Hallie? Worse than Jaylen Brown's? Interesting. My man Mac wants to weigh in. What's up, Mac?
Hey, good afternoon. I'm just got to be quiet because the baby's napping.
Oh, super important. I understand that.
Look, first of all, just real quick about hockey. I'm telling you, in 4 years, the Sharks are going to win a Stanley Cup. They have got all the tools. They've got 2 first-round picks. They got the second overall this year. They have the OHL MVP already drafted, and they have a stud defenseman coming up. I'm telling you, Sharks are going to, and they've got the best prospect and goaltender. They're going to win. They're going to win the cup and break through in 4 to 5 years.
All right, Max on record.
And they're very because they're all 18. All their studs are 18, 19. They could use a couple of veterans to so that they don't get their youngsters hurt to kind of protect them. But that's other than that, no, they're gonna win. But I wanted to talk about Hallebertton.
Yeah.
Okay. I think let's get this straight. I think Hallebertton is the face of the Indiana franchise, right? He won the gold
Correct.
medal. He did it all. I think when you are the face of the franchise, that guy has a right to say, if I can play, that he gets at least 5 minutes or whatever, and then you give him a short hook. And he gets a chance to try to prove himself that he can play and that he can affect. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't have a short leash. But I think with guys like that, because you never know if you're going to be back. Really, this could be his last time in the finals, and he's going to want to be able to say, I gave it everything. So I think you have to treat your superstars. They get a little bit more leash. I understand what you're saying. Like, do you need to sit him down for his own health or whatever? But it's a championship, and I think championship players want to play in this moment. Now, some guys, maybe like a Kawhi Leonard, might shy away.
Ooh.
But you get what I'm saying, right? Like if it depends on what you if this guy has the mentality and says, Coach, I want to give it a go, you let him dress. And also, Emmitt Smith played the NFC Championship with a calf strain. He had 83 yards in 1994 and a touchdown against the 49ers. And he took 23 carries. So it's not like he can't play. It's if his pain tolerance if he can do you something, even be a decoy, contribute in any way, I think he's earned the right to be able to get that shot. That's just me. Now, whether you lose or whatnot, I don't know. But I think with superstars, you have to give them some preferential treatment. What do you think?
I really can't disagree with anything that you said. I think that it's on. That's where the coach was talking about. It's on the coach and the player, because the player's probably Tyrese is not going to want to come out. But if he's limited, then you've got to. I think it's got to be a quick call. But I do agree that if he can give it a go, you give him a chance. Great reference with Emmitt Smith. Here's the other thing, excuse me. We're also kind of, or at least I am, from my perspective, drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, this is a really bad situation with his calf. It might not be as bad as everybody is making it out to be, and he might actually be fine to go. So I think you're spot on, Mac.
Okay. Anyway, I hope you have a good night or good afternoon, and take it easy.
Yeah. How long does that nap usually last for the baby?
Sometimes 2 to 3 hours, but he went to sleep right around the second inning of the game, of the Giants game, and
Nice.
they just finished. So I know it's coming to an end. I just put him back to sleep right when you started the podcast, so I could call in, and gave him the bottle, kind of rocked him back. So
Yeah.
since I have about 30 to from the time he hits the pillow, I have 30 minutes maybe.
I love it, man.
I'm a teacher, so I'm on summer break, but then I'm gonna go do summer school next week. So I'm on baby duty this week.
Nothing better than spending that time with the little ones, for sure. It's a perfect schedule too, because right around when the finals end, it'll be time to start slowing down, getting them in bed by like 8, 9, golden. So good job by you.
All right. Yeah. No. Well, right now we're fascinated with cars. So if I just turn on a sprint car race on YouTube or an old NASCAR, he just waves and claps at him and then goes to sleep. So we're right at that phase where anything right now we have to go in the front yard and wave at the cars as they drive by. So
Dude, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
We used to do the same thing with garbage trucks. So when the garbage man came, he had to see it. So, dude, love
can
it.
I say one thing?
Sure.
My son, if a Ferrari drives by, he's not very happy. He's not flattered. It doesn't do anything for him. But if a Prius goes by, oh my goodness, that is like I don't know. So yeah. I don't get it. When we go out to dinner, he wants my wife and I, we have to, one of us gets to eat and the other one has to sit in the parking lot and wave at cars. So,
oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Well, hey, at least you'll be saving some money since he likes the Prius over the Ferrari.
Right? Yeah.
You're good to go. All right, brother. Be well. Enjoy the rest of your time off. Great call as always.
Bye-bye.
But good job by Mac right there. I get it. The things that parents do, I think like the go-to is like a walk. That used to be, it was either a walk or a car ride for us when Bubba's was young. So the little things like that they get infatuated with. We used to have turkeys come through our neighborhood. And if a turkey came onto our lawn, we would follow that damn turkey all through the neighborhood to the point like they would jump on or fly onto the roofs and everything. But things of being a parent, that's what makes Father's Day to me so damn special. So good job by you, Mac. Can't wait to talk to this guy. He knows his hoops. Mr. Moss.
Hey,
what do I owe this pleasure, man?
How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, man. Happy late Father's Day to you and your family.
Thank you.
I know they appreciate you, and you handle your business as a man. So salute to you, my guy.
Hey, do you want to know how much? You want to know how much I handle my business as a man?
Yes.
We were in San Francisco, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get that seafood plate that I never get. It's got it comes out hot, and it's got the sizzling like butter and garlic and king crab and shrimp. Right? My son had never had king crab, so I'm like, oh, here, try a piece. Dude killed my plate. I had to let him have the rest of the plate.
Yeah, yeah. And when you get those type of
business,
when you get those type of plates, the portion size isn't the best. So it's not like you're getting your bang for your buck, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so I get it. But the last caller had some good points about Tyrese. I mean, yeah. I don't think he's a superstar. I think that word gets thrown around loosely, but he's a good player. He's going about the right way these years in Indiana, so I'll give him that. But I didn't like what I saw in game 5, right? His demeanor, his personality on the court per se, his body language, that's not what leaders do. And we have to be able to criticize our players and even guys that we like. If you can't go have a seat. I'm sorry. And shame on Rick Carlile, right? TJ had it going. TJ in that particular game deserved to be in the game in the fourth quarter, because he was giving his team the best chance to win, not Tyrese. And so I'll just leave it right there. He's still a very good player. He's going to do great things in this league, but I didn't like what I saw in game 5. And I think it's okay to say that. I like your title, though, Rhino, about Malik Monk, and it's a great title. I agree. He's so much more than what he shows on the court. I think his personality, I think his demeanor, I think his joking attitude, because he keeps the team kind of loose. He's one of the few guys on the team that's going to keep guys loose and crack a joke. And in the midst of a losing streak, he may still come into practice and still try to get guys to,
Amen.
You need that. You need that on the team. And he backs it up with good play, And Malik's come from a pretty, like he's fought his way to get to where he's at now. He's had some long days and nights, when he first came to the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's come
out of the league briefly.
Yes. So I won't get personal, but I think you probably assume what I'm referring to. But he's had some long days, right? And so to see him smiling and see him out there playing, he's definitely a fan favorite. And so I know my family loves him. I mean, he's their favorite player. He's the reason why they go to the game. Like, they want to see him, And so, but I won't keep you long. You know, I think OKC, you know, finishes the job tonight. I think they can smell blood. You know, I think they're like a great white shark in the ocean, one drip of blood. And, you know, OKC made a major adjustment that nobody's been talking about, you know, and we talk about high IQ. You know, they stopped putting Shea at the top of the key, Rhino, and they let Jada bring it up the court. And what'd you see? You see Shea coming to set the screen, right? Now the defense has to play them differently, right? Or he'll come like he's setting the screen, and now you have a ghost screen, right? And so you're just doing different things, right? Like I didn't see Luka Doncic or LeBron James set each other screens, right? Not one time versus the T-Wolves. But they'll say those two guys are the highest IQ players in the league. And so it's just crazy how, you know, we got to appreciate what we're seeing, right? This Indiana OKC series to me has been high chess. It's been awesome. You know, we talk about pushing the league forward and getting past the KDs, the LeBrons, and the Steph Currys. Well, here you go. And I just and fans are still complaining about what we're watching, right?
Right.
And so that part I don't like. I don't agree with it. But to that, you say what?
To that, I say quit watching basketball. You're 100% right. Well, we're turning the game off because it's 53s and it's not interesting. It's not like the old days where teams had personalities. This is exactly what you would have wanted. This is what you were calling for. And now I think you have like two different subsegments between NBA fans, the fans that understand basketball and understand the greatness of what you just said, the chess match going back and forth, even with just some of the matchups coming off the bench, immediate substitutions, adjustments, or you're looking at it like, man, this is boring. Because you're
right.
Go look at the props on dunks. Like you're not getting dunks in the finals unless it's a breakaway because they're playing so physical. And I guess I'll ask you this really quick. And I asked Jerry on Tuesday, do you think the refs have let a little too much go in the finals? I do too.
I think there's been some calls that should have been called on both ends, right? I mean, some people say that SGA gets away with the extension, which a lot of guys do, but his at times seemed to be a little bit more blatant, a little bit more like you didn't see that. You know, I want to give Alex Caruso his credit. This dude is disrupting everything on the Pacers offense. He's everywhere. He's firing through picks. He's hitting his open shots. He's had 2 games where he's had 20 points or more. And you said something just real quick. They complain about teams shooting 53s. And again, here's where, you know, basketball 1-on-1 or just do, or I call it just doing your homework. OKC's averaging like 25, 26 threes a game in this series. So they're not a high volume 3-point shooting team, if you guys didn't know this. But, you know, let the media and let guys on TV tell it. You know, they'll portray a different thing. Real quick, and then I'm out of here. Did you like my WWE belt, Rhino, that I sent you?
Yes.
I didn't know wrestling was that popular. I'm not a wrestling guy by no means, but my brother-in-law is, like, diehard. And so we went to Vegas for WrestleMania, me, the family, and her sister's husband, and we all went. And every casino we went to, you got grown men. Well, I was one of them, walking around with the belt I sent to Rhino. And those belts are like, oh my God, like they're like going for like $650, $700 a pop. Bro. And the WrestleMania store to get these things at, unless you have like a VIP pass, we're talking like a 2-hour wait in line. It was at the Vegas Convention Center for the WWE store or whatever. But I didn't know that wrestling was that big. And I didn't know that grown men is into it the way that they are. Like it wasn't just children and like young teenagers. It was like grown men having like a fit over this stuff. It was crazy, man. But we enjoyed ourselves, man. But like always, Rhino, I appreciate you, man. And do you agree? You think OKC gets it done tonight?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think we go 7. Okay. Really quick, wrestling fan.
Yes.
Okay. Super passionate, but it's wrestling fan is a whole different type of fan base. Like, you know, I don't know how to put my finger on it. Mm-hmm. But it's just a different fan base. You're not going to see them at basketball games. Usually. Not going to see them at football game. Maybe a little crossover.
Football. But and what's funny is my brother-in-law, he vows to go to no Kings games, right? So we have season tickets. He'll rather not even go and watch something on Peacock, the WWE network, he'll rather watch like a Monday Night Raw or whatever is going on. And if you're a big wrestling fan, my family, the Colonial Theater on Stockton here in Sacramento, did you know that Mankind comes there like once or twice a year, and he does like an individual meet and greet? And so next time he comes, I'm gonna reach out to you, man. So if you want to meet him, then you're more than welcome to. But he goes there all the time. Not all the time, but he goes there. And so, but yeah, I'll keep you heads up on that, man. But have a good Thursday. Enjoy the game, man.
Yep.
And we'll talk some more, man.
Sounds good. You the man.
Sure.
Dude, I still owe Moss. Okay, I promise, Moss, I'm reaching out. We're getting the Bennett's thing on the books before the summer's over. We will get a date. I owe Moss Bennett. Good stuff from Mr. Moss. Yeah, the officials, really quick, just to go on that. I think Indy has actually gotten, I said this, in games they've won, not a great whistle. It's just been an inconsistent whistle. And there's that line where it's the finals, it is the fourth quarter. Unless it's blatant, you got to call it. Then you throw in the whole matrix of replay. The officials are in a really hard spot. They're doing exactly what David Stern has asked them to do, but both teams physically, it's been incredible to see it match up the way it has. And people don't realize, I don't think people are giving Indy enough credit for what they have done in the transition game, specifically defensively. OKC, normally, if you get turned over by OKC, you can count that it's going to be points. Usually it's a live turnover. That has been negated for the most part this series. Game 1, where they had over 20 turnovers in the first half, there was only 9 points scored off of those 20 turnovers. So Indy has done a lot of the little things to make it happen. Hallebertton, I get what Mr. Moss is saying. I think he's a star. He's a star, but I agree with Grant's assessment of him being not a special talent, but a special player. That's the best I've heard it, because he's one of those guys that you just want to go play with. In fact, we have a clip from Brian and from Scal and Frank Isola talking about how it didn't work out in Sacramento, and talking about what Mr. Moss is saying about the changing NBA. I think this is the clip.
We're in the most parody of the NBA, right? I mean, it's been well documented. Yeah. So I don't mind this. I don't know if people like it. I think, to me, the innovative and the teams that are ahead of the curve, like getting players that are defensive players, like I think that teams that are ahead of the curve are the ones that are winning these games.
Well, you say, do people like it? Look what happened with Orlando making the trade that they made for Desmond Bane. And now you're looking at their roster and you're saying, if everyone could stay healthy or relatively healthy, why wouldn't they have a chance next year? Look at what Indiana did this year. The Celtics we don't know about because of Jason Tatum. So I don't know, like what happened with Indiana this year, I think gives a lot of the teams,
I agree,
at least in the Eastern Conference, a lot of hope. And then the West has a ton of teams. So there's not like one clear team, even though Oklahoma City obviously, looks to be ahead of the field. But if you go back, all right, so the Warriors won in 2019. Then you had the Lakers, then the Bucks. I'm sorry, what am I talking about? It was the Raptors, the Lakers, the Bucks, the Warriors, the Nuggets, the Celtics, and this year you get either Oklahoma City or Indiana. Getting a different champion every year. The year before that was
I'm good with it, because to me, it's those teams that are like innovative and and innovative to develop their own guys. Think about it. Like Nembhard, second round pick, Neesmith traded along with the first round pick for Malcolm Brogdon. And Indiana has taken that guy and made him into a really good player, impactful player that has affected the playoffs by his defense. Hallebertton was traded, like it wasn't working out for him in Sacramento. Somehow he gets to Indiana, it works out. Siakam, won a championship with the team, and the team decides to break up and they trade him. Like, this is like being very, opportunistic, and they built a championship team based off of that. I think that's remarkable. I wish the NBA could do that. I wish they could do more of that. I don't know if that's possible to do what Indiana did in the future, but right now it is.
So we heard that LeBron is excited.
So that was them talking about the NBA to kind of Mr. Moss's point. And Kings fans, here's where you have reason to be optimistic. Well, two reasons. The first is that the front office has recognized and finally listened.
Well, the biggest thing is
to
we need a point
Domas.
guard. That's for sure.
The second is what Scal said about developing talent. I follow Stockton incredibly close. Stockton has done an incredible job of working hand in hand with Sacramento when it comes to player development. They're on the same page. It's not like other programs in the G League that roll the ball out and say, show us what you can do. Put your numbers up so you can get signed to another team. They're running similar systems. Basically the same system. The pace for sure. So they've also, you want to talk about how Indy flipped Brogdon for Neesmith and Nembhard. The Kings have done a good job at finding undrafted players. So those are all good things. But we're stuck where we're at right now because of a couple really big and, in my opinion, bad decisions. The De'Aaron Fox trade, bad decision. I think re-signing Domas the summer after the playoffs, bad decision. You didn't have to re-sign him there. You could have done it later and used that money somewhere else. Oh, Haunted Horse checking in. Haunted Horse. He's got an update on the Giants. They won. The losing streak is over. Well, I'm glad Haunted Horse is here because there is something that I need to address. I'll tell you this, Dennis. The A's are getting killed nationally. Nationally. For the ballpark, the way they're playing baseball right now. I saw my guy, the MVP, Kevin John. What's up, Kevin? What's up, dude? He put out the other night that they had their lowest attendance against the Astros. Last time I checked, the Astros were pretty damn good. So we're just starting the summer. What's attendance going to be like when it's 107 degrees outside? I have not followed the A's closely, but I have heard rumblings that the River Cats are having better attendance. Don't take my word for it, but I've heard those rumblings. So, yes, big 209 guy. Love the 209. Love what Gabe Harris is doing down there. They lost Coach Q, Quentin Crawford. He's heading to Portland. Apparently, Haunted Horse poached him away for 2 years. And they will tell. Okay. All right. So, like I said, I was late to the show today because something popped up that really, really bugged me. You know, there's a few names in our theme song that are people that come on the show regularly, that are partners on the channel. Jerry, obviously Napes. I threw in Haunted Horse with the NFL. If you don't know, if you're not with us during the NFL season, Haunted Horse picks against my son, who knows nothing about football, but he could tell you every single Pokemon that there is out there. He could tell you which parks to go to when it comes to Pokemon battles on Pokemon Go, et cetera, et cetera. So they pick against each other. We see Haunted put all the time into his picks, doing the research. I know he likes to get some action every once in a while. Liam likes to poke the bear.
Remember what I say, 40 winos.
40 whiners. That came straight from him. So, anyways, Adam, he's mentioned in the music as well. But it came to my attention that Haunted Horse spent Father's Day in handcuffs. And I'm not sure how we handle this situation. It's technically a court, so we can make a ruling. I have jurisdiction over the King's Court. I think I need more information on why Haunted Horse was in handcuffs on Father's Day. You know, there's kids that watch this show, Haunted Horse. I now have to come up here and explain that somebody that's a personality on this show was in handcuffs? It's the last thing I expected from you, man. What should we do? I kick it to you. You all are the jury. Does Haunted Horse need to do some time in the King's Court jail?
I didn't know there were 2 holes. I thought it was just the one.
He didn't know there was 2 holes, apparently, in the handcuffs. So I'm going to leave it to you all to figure out why he was in handcuffs. It's not my job to explain myself. You can go figure it out. I'm sure. I spend hours and hours on my picks. You also spend hours and hours in handcuffs. You were not framed. You were in handcuffs. Peter, in fact, I heard the authorities had to be called to take the handcuffs off of Haunted Horse. So did the authorities put them on and then forgot about you and you had to call them back? Did you escape from the police? Change your identity and your appearance? I mean, dude, how does that work? All I could think of was Jim from American Pie calling his dad to take him to the hospital. So we're getting fines. Should he get a fine? Maybe. I'll take that into consideration. I don't know. I don't want to know about Haunted Horse's nightlife. Probably in handcuffs for protesting at No Kings, thinking it was about to be basketball. Yeah, well, that's a fact. He was in handcuffs. So I digress. You let me know what you think a fair punishment should be, and we will go from there. Topic, he is going to be a scary piece. He is going to be a nice piece for Oklahoma City. You know, Oklahoma City has had trouble with the pace so far against the Pacers. And I think Topic's going to be able to push the pace for that team, something much different than what SGA brings. So you've got that double, two-headed monster. OKC also starting Holmgren and Hartenstein together. Holmgren has had a poor series to me. I don't think he's played well whatsoever. Don't the Kings need to strengthen their bench? What will they look like without Monk? Just need to trade DeMar DeRozan for role. And yeah, it's a great question. So let's put this up really quick. Let's have the discussion about Malik Monk. I know that we were eventually going to get there. So it's only a report. Toronto seemed to have some interest in him last year at the deadline. So take it for what it is. Again, we are so early in this process. It's not surprising that Toronto might like him. Makes sense. But let's look at let's say that there were genuine talks going on between the Kings and the Raptors. Here's what we're looking at. Like, what would the Raptors realistically be able to give up that makes sense for the Kings? Kings on the left, Raptors on the right. I will take myself down. So Malik, I already said it earlier in the show. I think his contract is completely fair. Actually, we've got some audio summarizing the situation, or at least some of the rumors. Here you go, really quick.
NBA sources that the Toronto Raptors are eyeing Malik Monk if their Kevin Durant pursuit fails. They targeted Malik Monk at the trade deadline, but the Kings did not bite. And now it has been reported that they could target Malik Monk again and would still be interested in him if their Kevin Durant trade pursuit fails. And it was also reported by Jake Fisher today that the Raptors are willing to trade one of RJ Barrett or Emmanuel Quickly to get a significant upgrade. Now, I think this trade would most likely be Emmanuel Quickly being involved because the Kings are looking for a point guard right now. There have been a bunch of point guards that they have been linked to, trade market and free agency, and it looks like they are trying to add in a point guard.
All right, so that sets the scene for you. Emmanuel Quickly is making 32.5 next year. So if you were to trade Malik Monk, and that's the guy you're looking for as your point guard, that's going to be your guy. And Devin Carter is going to be your backup. I'm not sure that I'm ready to go all in with Quickly for Monk. But if that was or is what's on the table, you see the obvious issue. The money doesn't work. Also, I think in that trade, you would have to get at least a first-round pick, if not 2 first-round picks, because of the additional salary that you would be taking on. So what else is attractive to Sacramento? I'll put it to the chat. I'll get you guys involved in it. Oh, Orlando Robinson? No, he ain't coming back. Jonathan Mogbo is one that I don't hate. I don't hate that name, especially at that price. Scotty Barnes is not going anywhere. They're building around Scotty Barnes. Grady Dick. You don't need another 2 guard unless you somehow, some way, could move Zach LaVine. I just don't see it. The Kings have too many other holes to fill. I understand the picks in the future would be great. What's Toronto picking this year? I don't have the draft in front of me. Toronto's probably picking early teens, early mid-teens. And who else from Sacramento are you giving up? I've heard knuckleheads on the internet say Keegan Murray. Get the heck out of here. If you think Keegan Murray would be going with Malik Monk to Toronto, you're on something. It is very hot, for sure. Exactly. The contracts don't match. Still Horse getting some run right now while we're talking Kings. I just don't see, personally, the push from Sacramento to move Monk. I think there's better situations. I mean, Quickly to me is just not that guy. That's a long contract. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. What do you like about his game? It's been in New York and Toronto. I just don't see it. That's me. Why do it? You don't need to do it. I don't think discussions, if I'm Scott Perry, I don't think any discussions with any Kings outside of something stupid like Giannis for Keon Ellis. outside of that falling into your lap, I don't know that you can really start tweaking this roster significantly until you move DeMar DeRozan. I think that is the piece that has to move first for a couple of reasons. Because then that gives you a better idea of what you're going to do on your forward line. Excuse me, the gardeners are in the house. If you hear that in the background, I apologize. It gives you a better idea if you can move Keegan to the 3. You know Zach's going to be at the 2, and you can go out and get your 1. Now, will the DeMar trade involve a 1 or not? Maybe it doesn't. But then that's where I would start to look down. And I would start saying, okay, maybe Malik Monk there. But as I put in the title, and as Mr. Moss put perfectly, Malik Monk is just as valuable off the court for this team as he is on the court. In fact, I would argue the cluster bleep that this season was, if not for having him in that locker room, in that mix, once he got paid, and before he got paid, by the way, he was already that guy. He was the yin to the king's yang. You get too low, he's going to bring you up. He's going to keep things light. You're getting too comfortable, he's going to set you straight. If there's issues in the locker room, if maybe there's stuff going on that the guys don't like, but the guys aren't comfortable speaking up and saying something for themselves, Malik will do it for them. Malik didn't, actually, to a fault in training camp. You're a week into training camp, week and a half. You played 2 preseason games. You shot terribly, the entire team, from beyond the arc. And Malik's like, yeah, I think the guys are tired. I think we're just tired. And if you don't know what that goes back to this whole thing around Mike Brown when he came here. There were discussions about whether he was practicing them too much, whether he needed to tone it back a little bit, which when Doug Christie and Mike did tone it back to a degree the second year. And then when Doug took over, Doug really went more on spending time on the mental side, a lot of film, more film, a lot of more discussions, walkthroughs, team building, etc., rather than on court. If the Kings were on the court, then it's usually just shooting, free throws, walkthroughs, which at that time of the season is not irregular. In fact, it's the norm. Most teams are not practicing. But without Malik Monk on this roster, unless you are getting a bona fide number 1 point guard that is a playmaker that can work with Sabonis, you literally have no playmakers besides Sabonis. Me personally, putting my eggs in the Quickly basket, it's not desirable to me. The contract, I'm going to get Drew Holiday before I'm going to get Quickly at that number and for that long. Because Drew Holiday plays into exactly what Brian Scalabrine said before. Look at what these young teams have built around. They've built around defense. Look at these finals. What are you going to take away from these finals? I know what I'm going to take away from these finals. It's not offense. It's defense. It's physicality. The Kings have some of those pieces in place. But when the Kings were without Malik Monk, man, did things look bad. I mean, they limped across the finish line and limped into the play-in game and got the wheels blown off at home. You know why? because the only playmaker that was available to them was Domantas Sabonis. Everybody else was a finisher. Now, arguably, you know what? Let me check that. DeMar DeRozan, he's a playmaker too. But in that situation without Malik Monk, you need DeMar DeRozan to score the basketball. But it's a slower style of basketball. Malik, with his energy and his pace, and really his ability to play above the rim and do it willingly. Some guys can play way above the rim. How many times have you seen Anthony Edwards say, man, I don't like dunking. I'm going to try my best not to dunk anymore. And the dude's the freakiest athlete that I've ever seen in my life. Hands down, 3 of the freakiest basketball plays I've ever seen. Something straight out of the 6 Man movie, where the brother comes back as a ghost and is picking players up and like lifting them off the court, angels in the outfield kind of stuff. Like, did I just see that? Malik's not that, but Malik is never afraid to stuff it down on somebody and to take it right at their head. So I just think that's why you got to start with DeRozan. If it's ultimately going to be Monk, okay, I get it. But I don't think you can lose both of those guys without significant players in return. Not just in role, but in quantity. Because the Kings have holes. We've put it up many times. I'll put it up again. This is what the Kings have to work with. Devin Carter, not included here. He is back, by the way. But this is what the Kings have to work with. Look at all the players. Trey Lyles, he's not coming back to Sac. I think Jake probably will be. Everything I'm hearing is I think Jake's going to be back in Sacramento. Just think for a second, too, really quick. What were we doing last year at this exact time? What was the conversation every single day? Are the Kings going to be able to get Malik Monk back? Can we get Malik Monk back? Is he going to re-sign here? What's going to happen with the Kings if you don't have Malik Monk and you still had De'Aaron Fox on the roster then? I would argue that situation is more dire right now as the Kings sit on paper with what's on the roster. Now, maybe Devin develops some more ball handling wise. Keon starts to make a few more plays. But I just don't think that is the right piece of the puzzle to start your meal. Like if I'm Scott Perry and I'm sitting down at dinner, I'm not going to order a ribeye steak first and then get a cup of soup after. It's too important to the root of the Kings' problem, which is playmaking. And I'm not trying to compare. By the way, I know somebody put in the chat yesterday, Rhino, you always hate on DeMar DeRozan. No, I don't. I love DeMar DeRozan. I have advocated that he deserves to be in a different position. He wasn't sold what Sacramento is doing right now. He sold something else when he came here. So no, I'm not hating on him and I'm not calling him a cup of soup, but I am referring to Malik Monk as a ribeye steak because of the importance of playmaking on this team and the lack of it. That's what it makes Sabonis's job a million times harder. It's why Fox and Sabonis failed. Sabonis held up his end of the playmaking side, and Fox dropped the other when it came to playmaking. Listen to that. How about that? You know what we're going to do since the landscaper is right outside my window? We're going to listen to this really quick. about ring culture. Did anybody catch this about ring culture with LeBron James and Steve Nash? Found that to be pretty interesting.
Trying to nitpick an individual because he was not able to win a team game or a team match or whatever the case may be. I don't know where it started. It's just it's a long conversation, especially when it comes to me individually. It's just so weird. It's so weird.
I mean, coming from someone who's won a bunch.
Yeah, it's just so weird. It's never enough. You automatically dismiss people in their careers when you just be like, oh, he didn't win a ring, or he doesn't have a ring. It's like, have you actually sat down and actually like really looked at this guy's career and what he was able to accomplish? Jerry West, I think, went to like 9 straight NBA finals.
Right.
And,
The logo.
and was only able to win one.
Right.
And he's the logo of our league.
Yeah.
So you can't sit here and tell me that, okay, well, because he only won one.
What do y'all think about LeBron talking about ring culture when he was chasing rings for so long? Incredible. Back to the Kings. With DeMar, that's why I say you got to let that shoe drop first. There's reports out there. I'm looking at one right now that says many teams is perceived to be, actually, let me read verbatim from Hoop site. DeMar DeRozan could be backup trade options for teams that miss out on Kevin Durant. The Kings' DeMar DeRozan is another former All-Star who is widely perceived to be available via trade and who could emerge as a fallback trade target for teams who miss out on Durant. That Durant shoe doesn't seem like it's super far from falling. So I just don't think, and tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. But when you have this guy saying,
well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard, that's for sure.
And the closest thing that you have on paper to a point guard right now is Malik Monk at a very fair number. I don't think that's the first guy you want to part with, unless it's part of a bigger deal that gets you that bona fide point guard. Whoever you think that guy is, whether it's Ja Morant, whether it's Drew Holiday, I don't personally think it's Darius Garland. I also have heard that I don't think Scott Perry is as high on Trae Young as some others have put out there. So speaking of other things that have been reported, as I said, Sam Amick was on with Dave and Jason earlier. He was asked the question, what's your sense as far as the Kings' aggression or lack thereof going into the summer? Sam said, yeah, I mean, I do have indications that they are looking at a lot. I don't know how much they're going to overhaul the roster, but I think they're looking at big stuff. I think they're looking at small stuff. You know, the point guard pursuit is very real. I don't know where they'll land on that front. It's kind of, if only Drew Holiday was 5 years younger type of thing. That kind of option has been considered and explored, but it's imperfect. It's imperfect because of his age. He goes on to say, and then if you go younger, there's a lot of Trae Young rumors. My understanding is there's not interest there unless it came attached to a bunch of first-round picks. So I don't know what the outcome will be on the point guard situation. Once again, this channel is all over it. We've got this stuff peppered. You heard Drew Holiday here first. Talked about the Trae Young stuff. Sam's just reporting the same thing. I said that days ago. So we are plugged in. And to me, that's encouraging. The Kings are looking to make a swing. I just don't think the swing you start with is Malik Monk. You just don't. I don't think that is the part that really gives you more flexibility. In fact, I think if you trade Malik Monk in a Toronto trade, I think that increases the pressure on this team. You're putting that much money into Emmanuel Quickly, who you would assume would have to be involved in the deal based off of what Toronto is willing and not willing to give up. And a lot of that depends also on the Kevin Durant pursuit. But I just can't do it. 6'3", 188 pounds. Patrick, you watched him play for a year. Holler at us if you have thoughts on him. I'm going a different direction. I'm sorry. I just am. I'm probably pursuing Ja Morant before him, as crazy as that sounds. So where do you guys fall on that? Let's get to the chat. Let's see. Jake Laravia, we're talking about him. Peter, okay. Let me see where you guys start going back and forth. They had Jonas before, and Monk and Jonas make it easier to make moves. I don't think you're moving Valanciunas unless you have to. I just don't, because of the Sabonis situation. Some people agree with me there. Yeah, exactly, Peter. We have 8 players under contract, and we need at least 14 for the team. You have $26 million to get 6 players. Make the math make sense. Amen. Amen. That's why I asked Jerry Reynolds if Isaac Jones would have to, for the Kings to have a good, not a great, not an awesome, not a bad, but a good season. Does Isaac Jones need to be able to play 7 to 10 minutes a game at the 4 or 5? And he said yes. Isaac Jones is an undrafted guy. He deserved to get the full-time contract last year. It's a lot of pressure to put on a young man. He is one of those 8 under contract. Appreciate it, Paul. My takeaway from the finals, OKC swarming defense. Lau's with me. We have picks, free agents, and two-way players. Yeah, but dude, Dennis, you don't dress. Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. If we're getting down to we can fill our roster with our 3 two-way players, let's just shut the stream down right now. The Kings are not that bad or that bad off. But there probably is. And that's the next question that I will ask. There is probably a lot of pressure on some guys right now to develop. And with the Kings and Keegan Murray coming up, he's already said that he's going to probably be exploring an extension this summer. With that in mind, I don't know how, if you're the Kings and you've seen what you've seen out of Keegan, which has been rookie record for made 3-pointers, defensive progression second year, little bit better with the playmaking, shooting maybe a step back. Third year, and by the way, each year his body continuing to progress into a better and better NBA body. Third year, shooting way worse, playmaking better, defense incredible. You got to know what you have with him on offense, which means you have got to feature. In my opinion, if Keegan Murray is part of the future plans and he is as coveted as he seems to be, how he's made it through so many trade deadlines, how we've heard so many reports that, well, the only name that's kind of off the table is Keegan Murray. Well, if that's the case, if he's that important, you need to show that on the court as a franchise, as an organization. You got to give the young man a chance. And I get DeMar DeRozan was the best the Kings could do last year to improve this roster. But at the end of the day, it really did affect him and some other guys. It took the shots away. It slowed the offense down at times, which affected touches. So, and it changed the way that the team played at times as well. So I almost look at it as Keegan Murray has played for 3 different Kings teams in 3 years. This 4th year, you got to find out what you have. You have to. You got to know, and the only way you do that is you give him the opportunity to be featured. And as I said yesterday, the first thing before you are making any trades, you have your priorities listed out. For me, and I know it's not this way because of the owner and his love for Zach LaVine, my number one thing would be, how can I get LaVine off the books? That is number one. But that's like dreaming. That's like, hey, can you give me the winning lotto numbers for the next 20 years? It's not going to happen, right? Second thing that the Kings need to do, they have to get guys back to their natural positions. You need to figure out what is the natural position for each one of your players and get them back to it. Because the Kings' biggest flaw over the last 3 years is guys playing out of position. And to me, for Keegan, that means getting him to the 3 spot. Then you can start talking trades. When you know that you're going to get guys back to their positions, that's your goal. Now let's start going. How do we do that? How do we reinforce the depth? How do we keep this thing somewhat buildable for the future? Can we get draft picks? You just have to recognize with the roster that you have right now, between Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray, this team, Malik Monk, this team is going to be right around the play-in, or just outside of it. So you're with Zach LaVine, assuming Zach LaVine stays healthy and assuming he plays about the same as he did last year in his 30 games, a little bit less than 30 games with the Kings, you're going to be right around that play-in, which puts you back into basketball purgatory. So what do you do in the meantime? You try to bolster picks on the back end. You shelter down. You do the best you can. You try to make the contracts that are bad into good contracts. That can only happen on the floor. And by the way, besides putting players, and I think this will happen naturally, but besides putting players back to their natural positions, the basketball IQ of this team took 2 steps back last year. The IQ was really bad last year. It's not fair to compare them to what you're watching right now in the finals, because to me, those are the 2 highest IQ teams in the NBA, hands down, the Pacers and the Thunder. But the IQ has to get better than what we saw last year. Mindless mistakes, terrible passes. So, look, what kept this Kings team not relevant, but kept them positive with their net rating even though their record was right around 500, was them getting to the free throw line. That was all DeMar DeRozan. So if you are going to trade DeMar DeRozan, again, you got to be able to kind of figure out how are we going to compensate there. And certainly you're going to get stuff in return, but the Kings can't treat this as gold panning. Let me dip my pan into the American River. We'll splash it around, we'll filter it out, and we'll see what we get that works out for us. It can't be that. It has to be targeted. And it's positive to me hearing Sam's report, hearing that everybody's on board.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Those are all positive things. It's just, I said it last year. I'm going to maintain it. I'll be saying this until this thing turns around and somebody turns it around. This is this is so complicated. So complicated. This is high level stuff that this front office is being faced with right now. And on top of that, whether you want to admit it or not, there's the Sacramento stink. There's always going to be the Sacramento stink until they start doing things the right way. When the Maloofs did things the right way, the Kings were lovable. The Kings were winning. Players wanted to come here. Even when the Kings started winning, they were getting national attention. They were all over ESPN. Oh, the Kings, the surprise of the league, right? Domas, all-star. Fox, fill-in all-star. But then, Vivek starts to Vivek. In the next year, Domantas Sabonis had how many double-doubles in a row? Set a record for triple-doubles, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I remember something about it, for the Kings at least. Dude wasn't even an all-star. Malik Monk that year was not the sixth man of the year, and that was because of the Sacramento stink. You saw it even worse this year. Yes, I know Domas did get, I believe, third team All-NBA last year, which was, or 23-24, which was kind of ironic. So what I mean by that is you're going to have teams that you are trading with. They're going to try to gouge you. The NBA looks down. The rest of the NBA looks down upon the Kings. You have to do twice as much good to get half of the positive run right now. And it's because of the way this team is ran. Hopefully that changes this year. Hopefully Scott, if I can call you Scott, Mr. Perry, will get your arms around Vivek, will at least play the game better than Vivek. Who knows? Hey, we still got Celebrity Row. We've got 2 rows to fill up for Vivek. We still need to finish our side of it, but maybe it starts here. But this is high-level stuff. I love that Peter just put it as bluntly as he did. So to start with a Malik Monk for Quigley, it's not the right foot to start off with. That's just where I'm at. Kings have an MLE. Yes, they do. Mark would have been fine in the starting role, but decision-making stuck. I don't think we can afford to blow up the team, especially when you look at what's running the team. We have a semblance of a team. Find the point guard play. Yeah, no doubt. Your team is made up of, I said this going back 2 years ago. You had too many finishers and not enough creators. The idea, this was my takeaway. When they traded for Domantas Sabonis, my takeaway was that the working idea that the Kings had, especially in giving up Tyrese Halleberton, was you were going to be able to have a two-headed, completely different monster at point guard in the way that De'Aaron Fox played and in the way that Domantas Sabonis played. Neither are true point guards, but both of them can be really good creators. And they hit you in such different ways. It's quickness, it's passing, it's tempo, it's step backs. It worked great 22-23. And then De'Aaron quit going to the hole. And teams hung off Domas. And the Kings didn't really adjust as much as they should have. Which, you know what that affects in turn? Your finishers. Who's benefiting from the way that teams are playing Domas and Fox? It's Kevin Huerter coming off of screens. It's Keegan Murray standing in the corner. It's all those things. Those guys were the beneficiaries of the bad situations. And the only looks they were getting, well, were either wide open or very difficult. So the imbalance is exactly that. Still, look at that roster. Way too many finishers and not enough creators. You've got 3 creators right now on that roster. DeMar, Malik, and Domas. Anybody want to argue that point with me? Gosh forbid we get a coaching staff that can implement a real team offense. Well, okay, the 2 things that I'm looking at coming out of training camp, or looking at going in, I should say, to training camp, assuming that this is what the Kings go into training camp with, the core pieces that you're looking at right now, I'm looking at how Doug Christie is going to be able to work something with Valanciunas and Sabonis on the court at the same time. The second thing I'm looking at is why the heck the Kings are not doing more high-low. They've got the players to do it, and they can create the mismatches. They've got the skill to make the passing work, which is the hardest part of the high-low. Why is that not happening more? Can Doug implement more of that? And the third thing is just what you're saying. Implement a real team offense. Jerry Reynolds has said now for almost a year and a half, that they should be bringing the bigs up to the free throw line, the elbows, like the Kings used to do in 2000, 2001, 2002. It's a Coach Carril thing. It's a coachy move. With this group that you have on paper right now, this is not a group that, in my opinion, you can do the whole, I want to teach you to play instead of teaching you a play. No, you've got to have some plays. You've got to have some type of offense. So I'm with you. Those are the 3 things I'm looking at. Peter, Jake LaRavia is stuck at 5.1. The situation for Jake LaRavia makes too much sense. It makes too much sense for him to come back to Sacramento, especially on a short-term deal. He's going to get the opportunity with the minutes that he might not get somewhere else. And quite frankly, 5.1, I think that's right around his number. Watch as we get into free agency, numbers are not going to be what we think they are. Like, got people that lived through the 2007, 2008, 2009, heck, even going back to like 2006 or 2005, 2006, where role players were getting 3-year, $72, $76 million. Those days are gone. Look at Valanciunas' contract. He signed that last summer. The market is much different because of the CBA. So I think 5.1, you bring Jake back on a 5.1 2-year contract with a player option for the second year. That's what I would do. And I would let Jake make that decision, or at least have the ability to do an offer sheet on him. So that way, not only is he here in Sacramento and would be very important to what the Kings do defensively because he can guard multiple positions, but he gets to try out for the rest of the NBA too, for that big contract or bigger contract. He's not going to be one of those 30 million plus guys. DeMar was terrible for this franchise. I disagree. The only word, or the only time I can use terrible in the same sentence as DeMar DeRozan is talking about his toe being on the line. That was terrible because it happened so much, but I don't think he was terrible. He brought a lot. I don't know how to put this. I guess I'll bring you back in really quick. I don't think the fan base realizes to what degree this team dealt with stuff behind the scenes, individually and as a team, because of the front office, because of guys on the roster. I give DeMar DeRozan all the credit in the world for handling it the way that he has. Same thing with Sabonis. All the credit in the world for how he's handled things. We knew right around Christmas time, right around when the Kings went on that, right around when that bad run started at home before Mike Brown lost his job, we knew there was some unhappiness in that locker room. But guess what? You never saw it in DeMar's play. You never saw it in Sabonis's play. You saw it in Fox's play over multiple years. So I just have a lot of respect for the way guys have handled stuff. But they've also put the writing on the wall for you. DeMar's not been super shy about saying it's been the hardest year of his life. Sabonis, same thing, season of their lives. DeMar was solid. Preferred DeMar over Durant. Ooh, I don't know. Interesting. That's an interesting take, Paul. I don't know, actually, on that one. Biggest thing is not a point guard. It's a starting power forward. I disagree with you, Michael. You can have a starting point. Michael, you can't play point guard by committee. It doesn't work. And that's with Domantas Sabonis on your roster. You can't do it. No. Your possession, no, you just can't do it. You can't. DeMar.
The biggest thing is we need a point guard, that's for sure.
That's all he said. Like, Domas usually would be, I really like the guys we got on this team. Certainly we need to look to improve the roster and what opportunities might be presented to the front office, but that's going to be up to our general manager and to our future coach to figure out. All I can control is myself, and I plan on having a great summer and coming back to make this team better next year. No, that's not what you got. You got this.
The biggest thing is we need a point guard, that's for sure.
So I get what you're saying. It is important. Both sides are important to Domantas's game. In fact, we could do an entire show about which would be more helpful for Domas's game, having that power forward or the point guard next to him. That's actually a decent podcast topic. You have Ayton, whose contract you can't get rid of. Okay, you guys talking about Portland. DeMar wasn't our first choice, nor were we his first choice. It's very true. Very true. And I was one of those people that was critical of the Kings for, in my opinion, being reactive rather than proactive through the first couple years, or at least from the Beam Team year through last summer. Them just, instead of going out and trying to get what they need and it was out there for a fair price. They got proactive at the trade deadline this year. Now, I didn't like how they did it with Fox, but Valanciunas, super good, great move. Awesome move. He was wanted by multiple teams. But what I'm getting at is here this year in free agency, the Kings are going to have to be a little reactive. I don't think the Kings come blazing out the gates with big offers. I think they need a couple of shoes to fall. Kevin Durant is, there's some reports about with DeMar DeRozan. I think those two are tied together. I also think, and that could be the same deal with San Antonio. I think a lot of eyes on San Antonio with what they do with that second pick. I think that shoe needs to fall as well. But let's see. You guys talking about that. Haunted Horse talking about the contract for Levine not being great. Dennis. I mean, you have to understand there's no new teams coming in, so every team is at capacity. Okay, you guys must be having a decent conversation that I'm not going to butt into. This isn't a problem with minimum contracts. Now, look, the Kings didn't get to where they're at in one season. It's literally what I just explained about being reactive rather than proactive. They didn't use the Domas money or the money that Domas was extended with on other guys after the Beam team year. Then the next offseason, you bring back Barnes. It's really the trade deadlines to me, and I get why you didn't screw with the Kings the Beam team year. I understand why you didn't touch that team at the trade deadline, but the trade deadline in 23-24, that really hurt the Kings. 2 trade deadlines in a row, and yeah, you got Cass Edwards, and I love Cass, but yeah, that's where you get to. Really, last year was where it started showing, where the Kings had to sign 3 guys that weren't in the NBA at the start of the season. So, but again, if you're just tuning in now, there's a lot of positive to go along with the challenges that we're laying out right now. No, absolutely not. I disagree. In fact, I would bring back Davion probably before I brought back Fox. And it's not because I think Davion's a better player. It's because of the number. You know, Fox is an interesting situation. By the way, NBA Finals getting ready to start here in about 45 minutes, which means if you're getting down on the game, you got about 25, 30 to get your stuff in. OKC -6.5 in this one. Let me update the injury report, see if we have anything new on Tyrese. He was a game time decision. Tyrese is going to be playing in the game. So Tyrese is good to go. 6.5 point dogs are the Pacers at home. I have the Pacers winning tonight. Heavy dose of TJ McConnell, heavy dose of the role players. I think they get it done tonight, and all bets are off when it comes to game. Well, actually, I think OKC in 7. Jerry had OKC in 7 as well. King's Horror Show, front office decision-making, took a lot out of the players last year and is a turnoff for the players the Kings want to bring in. Yeah, look, I just think the players didn't know who to go to. They didn't know who was in charge. I think the players had a pretty good idea. Monty was not pulling the strings that he wanted to pull. There's been reports about trades that may have been vetoed by Mike Brown before the start of last season. I can't substantiate that, but it's pretty clear Vivek. It was clear before Sam Amick wrote his article that Vivek fired Mike Brown, but Monty McNair fell on the sword. So I just think the players are like, well, who's running this thing? Like, if I wanted to find out what's next, I don't even know who to go to. And I think you could probably make an argument, and I've not heard anything like this, but you could probably make an argument that there was little cliques within the building. And you don't know if it's the good clique or the bad clique. You don't know if they're the mole or they're the knot. Vivek Ranadive, Grant laid this out perfectly. He was talking to so many different people besides his own basketball operations. People that are paid to do that job. You got guys jumping ship, Wes Wilcox, Luke Laux. Doug goes from 4th seat to 1st seat. It was utter chaos. But you got to start somewhere. And I hope this is where they start. They're going to have some good luck bounce their way. But it's just a matter, again, hunkering down. If you can get rid of Levine, you're in a much better spot. That gives you the opportunity to possibly, okay, it's Kobe. I love Kobe White, by the way. JB's contract was worth its weight in gold. I agree, Paul. Paul, that's, you know what? Great point, Paul. That is why the Kings made the play-in, hands down. The Kings kind of did not miss a beat when Domas got hurt and JV filled in. They won basketball games during that time. And then when Malik went out, and so to the person that put that the power forward is more important than the point guard, again, I made this argument earlier, and there's your answer. You're wrong. Because when Malik Monk at the end of the season went out, it was a horror show of turnovers, bad decisions, guys playing out of position. Point guard by committee was Zach LaVine, who was throwing pick sixes that the babies in the baby races could have intercepted and dunked. Keon was tasked with it. It was difficult for him. Devin Carter, same thing. The Kings could not create anything. DeMar DeRozan was the offense. But when Domas went out, they were all right with JV. That's why the point guard is so damn.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
And for me, Quickly is not that guy. He's just not. If you're going to go to that price range, you've got better options. One great option after tonight's game finals, Grant will be back for the first time in a couple days. Come wish him a happy belated birthday. We celebrated him a little bit on the channel yesterday. That was a lot of fun. So thanks for tuning in. If you didn't catch it, you can always catch the replays here on YouTube. If you're watching there, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We'd greatly appreciate it. The thumbs up, the likes, the retweets are incredibly helpful, and we're very thankful for those. We are in some awesome algorithms, especially on the X platform for those viewing the show on X, all because of y'all for the support. So thank you. Come back. He will be there at 8 o'clock tonight or right after. If it's a good game, he'll be on right after the Pacers and the Thunder. And don't forget about our friends at Bennett's, the West Side Grill in Rockland, Roseville, Howland, Fair Oaks, whichever location suits your fancy. Get there. Prime cuts, seafood, and steak. And it's not just that type of place. It's not just a steakhouse. They've got a little bit of everything, and they have amazing specials. I say this, almost all of my testimonials about Bennett is about the specials. There's something going every single day. Happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock every day of the week. Weekend brunch, all locations, 11 to 2 p.m. Prime rib, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. night. You got Wine and Dine Mondays, where you get 2 entrees and a bottle of wine for under $70. You got the lunch specials with the sandwiches. I'm losing my breath. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can check out the full menu. You can make reservations. You can buy gift cards. Mr. Moss, you and I will be visiting Bennett's here this summer. Zach, Guru, I guess I owe you Bennett's as well. So we'll be hitting them up. When you go in, by the way, let them know that you heard about them here on the channel. And let us know too. We'll retweet it and we'll also pass it along to Brian. He loves chopping it up with all of you and hearing the good stories. And I've been saying it since Bennett's has been a sponsor. If you go to Bennett's, you have a bad meal, send me the receipt. But just realize, if you had a great meal and you send me the receipt, you are going to have worse karma than the dude that cooked that burger for Kobe before the Western Conference Finals. So don't do that. You don't want that hanging over your head. But that's my Bennett's guarantee. Go check them out again. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Great option for dining anytime, lunch or dinner and brunch on the weekends. Love Bennett's and love and appreciate all of you. Final predictions. OKC will be champions after tonight's game. I was being facetious about Fox. No, hey, Jerry and I talked about it, BJ. That's what's funny. We talked about it. I don't think was it this week or last week? I think it was last week where we talked about that. The Fox situation to me is just so intriguing. It's incredibly interesting because Como Sadice put Fox on a silver platter and force fed him to the Spurs. That's kind of what it was. The Spurs didn't give up much. And now with all of the Spurs' luck with moving up in the draft, and you've got Wemby still developing, you might have Kevin Durant, Stephen Castle gets the Rookie of the Year, and you're sitting here thinking, you're like, could Fox be the odd man out? And don't look yet, but Fox is going into a contract year. Or no, this is his contract year. His contract is up. So normally you don't go, if you're a guy like De'Aaron Fox, or at least Sacramento, how many fans classified him as a superstar or a star. If you have him in that category, you don't go in to your contract year without an extension. And if you do go into your contract year without an extension, it means you're being traded at the deadline. So I wonder with whether they get Durant or not. Giannis, I know it looks like maybe he's going to stay in Milwaukee. They could be players in that game. I just don't know. I think Fox might be the odd man out in San Antonio. Or he could be part, as Jerry Reynolds pointed out, of a deal to Phoenix for Kevin Durant. I just think it's an incredibly interesting story because one thing I can promise you is he will not, if he gets an extension with the Spurs, it will not be for anywhere close to what was on the table here in Sacramento. So it's a really interesting fall. I wish him nothing but the best. I really do. But I could see him being an odd man out and getting a really big reality check from the rest of the NBA when it comes to what they're willing to pay him. So interesting stuff, fun stuff. Hey, fun day. Again, my take, you can't trade Monk until DeRozan's gone. Can't do it. Can't do it. Then you really put yourself in a bigger hole. Unless it's like that Magic deal. The Drew Holiday, man. I know you don't like the age, but where the Kings are at right now, I think parts of that age and him being a veteran and him playing the way that he plays, I think that there is a very beneficial aspect of having some of that rub off on Keegan Murray, on Keon Ellis. If those guys are part of your puzzle, on Jake LaRavia. Yeah, with or without Drew Holiday, you're not winning a championship, in my opinion. But if you're going to hunker down for a couple years, I feel really good, much better about hunkering down with him regardless of his age because of what it will do for your guys that play a similar style to him defensively. Look, maybe I sound like a homer, but I go back to two names, Drew Holiday, and the more and more I think about it, Ja Morant. Crazy, huh? All right, NBA Finals. Enjoy them tonight. A lot of you saying the season is going to end. Well, if the season ends, we've got more draft to talk about. But Tyrese Halleberton in the lineup tonight. Looks like he's going to be starting. We'll see how long he remains on the floor, how Rick Carlile handles that. I say it goes 7. I think you're going to get a big game from the Pacers bench. Going to be an incredible energy in Indy. We will talk about it tomorrow. But before tomorrow, Grant, tonight, 8 o'clock, join him. Thank you very, very much again. Check out the show, by the way. If you can't make us live, you can always find us on replay on YouTube or take us in the car. Download us on YouTube, or excuse me, maybe if you have premium, you can download us on YouTube. But go to Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, you'll find the King's Court with Rhino. And then also, if you don't like that, with Grant Napier. Hey, Rome, why don't you take us out, man? I talked a lot about Grant yesterday. Do you have any thoughts on Grant? By the way, court's dismissed. See you tomorrow. Romy, what do you think about Napes?
Are very smart, very talented, very clever, very funny, very well read, very engaging, very well liked. You have a great work ethic. I don't need to worry about you, dude.